YouTube, what is going on? And thank you for checking out this video. This is my official House of the Dragon Season 1 review video. I can't believe this show exists. It might be the greatest show of all time. I think it's my personal greatest show of all time already. The story, phenomenal. The actors, phenomenal. It's all green with this show. It's all green lights. It's all amazing. It's amazing. And I wanted to do a season 1 review on this, and it won't be anything, incredibly detailed. I'll cover the big things, but I just want to give a general review of the 10 episodes that we got from season 1, because this was just, if you didn't watch this show, you should watch this show. And I would recommend watching Game of Thrones before you watch this show. Now, this is a prequel, so technically you can watch this before Game of Thrones, but there are way too many references in this show to Game of Thrones for you to not watch Game of Thrones. Like, for example, the Song of Ice and Fire. You won't know what the Song of Ice and Fire is until you watch Game of Thrones, because the Song of Ice and Fire is Jon Snow. Jon Snow in Game of Thrones is the prince that was promised, whose song will be of ice and fire, because he's born as a Targaryen, right? Like, he is a Targaryen and a Stark, but the Starks reside in Winterfell, so he is raised in the north. He has the fire in his blood, but he was raised amongst the ice with the Starks. So yeah. But that's one of the references. That's one of many references that you wouldn't understand it unless you watch Game of Thrones. So I would just watch Game of Thrones before this. By the way, Game of Thrones, it's not a chore to watch Game of Thrones. That show is amazing too. But House of the Dragon. So first of all, I want to talk about the casting between like Otto Hightower, King Viserys, Queen Alicent, Sir Criston. I mean, this is incredible casting. Might be the best casting for anything I've ever seen. There wasn't one character that I felt was miscast. There wasn't a single person that I felt was out of place, that didn't belong on this show. There wasn't one time where I felt like that. Every single character, the side characters, all of them, it felt like everybody was nailed. It was perfect. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about overall is the pacing of this show. So House of the Dragon has 10 episodes, like I said, and each episode, to me, it does such a good job of... It's hard to explain. Like, each episode starts off with very, very politically driven actions, I would say. Like, each episode is very... You start off, there's politics, there's, especially in the first couple episodes, there's, who's going to be your successor? You're not able to have a son. Rhaenyra's a woman. Can she really be successor? It's politics. And then towards the end of the episode, you get some real, crazy stuff that happens. As the show progresses, that crazy stuff gets crazier. For example, in the 10th episode, which is the last episode of the season that just aired last night, it starts off with politics, right? Like, Rhaenyra is having a kid. It's really painful, by the way. And then the kid ends up dying. They have to cremate the kid, unfortunately. But she's having a kid, and as she's having a kid, they're talking about war. They're talking about, listen, how can we who are our alliances, right? Like, what houses are pledging their allegiance to us? What should we do about our dragons? How many dragons do we have? How many dragons can we get? They're basically, it's politics. They're planning things out. It's politics. But as the show progresses, you see Otto Hightower in episode 10. He comes over to Driftmark, to the Black. I think it's actually not Driftmark. It's Blackstone. But he comes over to where the Targaryens are, the true Targaryens, Daemon and Rhaenyra Targaryen, brother and son of King Viserys. He delivers a message from Queen Alicent. He says, listen, we will pardon everything. We'll forget that you guys rebelled against us. We will give you guys Driftmark. It will pass through your families. We will give you guys spots in the court. Your children will carry the king's cup, and your children will serve the king. And we will acknowledge your marriage because Rhaenyra obviously married her uncle Daemon. And we will basically we'll be friends, and it'll all be amazing if you just bend the knee and acknowledge King Aegon, who was wrongfully named king, as king. And Daemon basically says, no, and it's foolish that you came here. Somebody bring me his head. Rhaenyra at this point is still pretty, she's still pretty hesitant. And she says, listen, let's just wait because I don't want to plunge the realm into war. I promised King Viserys I would keep the realm together. She even considers the offer because she says, do I really want to become the queen of the realm if it means plunging the realm into war? I don't want to be a queen of ashes. Because she knows that all-out war with the House of the Dragons is, everybody's going to die. There's going to be nothing left. There's going to be ashes and burnt people and burnt buildings, and it's horrible, and, that kind of happens in Game of Thrones, too. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Game of Thrones. But, so, anyway, that is basically an example of how this show works. Episode 10 is a perfect example of how most of the episodes work. You get some politics at first, the story sets itself up, and then towards the end you get a lot of action. Whether it's political action or like literal action where like people are killing each other, you get a lot of action, and I love that pacing. I also think, so there were some complaints too about the show being too dark, not in terms of like dark and gritty. I mean literally like people couldn't see. It was a dark show. I guess the lighting was off or something like that. I never really felt that, but I just wanted to acknowledge that, I guess maybe it was a little too dark. I don't know. I never really felt that though. But whatever. The other, part of the show is obviously the superstar performances. So I want to talk about I want to rank all of the superstar performances, but it's so hard to rank. So I'm just going to give you all of the superstar performances that you should be aware of. So number 1, it's Millie Alcock, who played young Rhaenyra Targaryen. She started the show off with Emily Carey, who played young Alicent Hightower. These two were just... It's not even like they were superstars. They were megastars. Like, these two were incredible together. It was so good. Millie was so, people were so, like, distraught that she was not going to stay with the show because, obviously, Rhaenyra grows up. And people were so distraught. They were like, no, oh my God, I don't know who this other actor is, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be like on board because we want Millie to stay. And I wanted Millie to stay. And I was in that camp. I won't lie. I was in that camp. I thought, man, I don't know who the next actor is that's going to play Rhaenyra, but they have a lot to live up to. And for the same thing with Emily Carey. Her actor had a lot to live up to as well. Alicent was played beautifully, and they really set the table up, which leads me to the people who took their places. Olivia Cook and then Emma Darcy. Emma Darcy, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her last name, but Emma played the older Rhaenyra Targaryen, and she has been just amazing. Every bit as amazing as Millie. I know some people might still prefer Millie just because she's younger, I guess, but these two knocked it out of the park with Rhaenyra Targaryen. They both really have done their parts. Olivia Cook has also picked up beautifully from Emily Carey with Alicent Hightower. It's these four. It's not easy. Like, if you look at movies like Shazam, it's not easy to have two people playing the same character. And in Shazam, they try to do it like simultaneously. Like, hey, I'm gonna say Shazam, and then I grow up into you immediately, and you just gotta pick up where I left off. It's not easy to do that. I wasn't a fan of the way they did it in Shazam because I felt like the actor, like Zachary Levi and I forget the kid's name, but I just felt like they didn't. I didn't believe that he grew up into Zachary Levi. But that's what my point is. It's not easy to do that, right? And this show does that perfectly. Now, there's also, other than these four, some other superstar performances like Matt Smith, who is quickly becoming the fan favorite, Prince Daemon. He is such an interesting character because he starts off as just a horrible person. Like, he's basically the enemy. Like, he's the first villain of the show. Nobody really likes him, and he is a very bad person, and even his brother, King Viserys, isn't too big a fan of him, although he always ends up coming around and saying, listen, Daemon, let's just bury the hatchet. Like, he's always trying to... King Viserys, I'm going to get to him, but man, Prince Daemon doesn't make it easy on anyone. Even to the last episode, he really just doesn't make it easy on anyone. But he became a fan favorite throughout the show because of his superstar performance. Matt Smith took this character and ran with it. He really embraced the role. And I think he did such a good job that this character is going to start to live outside of just Game of Thrones. It's gonna end up being like a pop culture type thing where it's like you see this character in so many different areas that you never expected. That happens a lot because with big characters they end up outgrowing the brand that they came from, and that's what Matt Smith potentially may have done with Prince Daemon Targaryen, King Viserys. I believe this man Patty Considine. If I'm Considine, if I'm mispronouncing his name, I'm sorry, but I believe this man deserves an Emmy, an Oscar, whatever the award is for Best Actor, he deserves it. Because this man, his performance specifically was maybe the best performance out of everybody. I can't believe. So George R.R. Martin straight up said that this guy played a better role with my character than I wrote for my character. Like, he straight up said that this guy is a better character for King Viserys than the guy I wrote in the book. Like, that's what he said. And he's right. This guy, Patty took this character and ran with it. He was always trying to. This guy, I felt so bad for him at some point. He's a family man, straight up. This guy's a family man. He just wants everything to be peaceful. He just wants his family to get along. That's it. He desperately wants his family to just be a family. Okay? And he has to deal with his uncle and his daughter like having a love interest, and he gets over that. And he has to deal with his brother being a psychopath and killing people at the beginning of the show. He gets over that. He has to deal with betrayal, at least in his mind, from Otto Hightower, and he has to deal with the death of his wife, and then he marries his daughter's best friend, young Allison, and he gets over that. And listen, the story of this character, the biggest takeaway that I want to say, because there's a lot to this character, no matter what happened in the show, his baby, his girl will always be Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra was his daughter, and you could tell he was like, he wanted a son. It's ironic because even Rhaenyra said, young Millie Rhaenyra said that, I always felt like I was just kind of there, and my dad really wanted a son, and I'm just here. But throughout the show, you can tell Rhaenyra was just, that was his prized possession, was Rhaenyra. He loved Rhaenyra so much. I mean, he truly, truly loved her. He would protect her. Even when there was definitive proof that Rhaenyra and his brother, her uncle, had some type of love, whatever, right? Like, they might have slept together. He, instead of being really upset at the both of them, he ended up kicking Otto Hightower out from his king's hand and protected Rhaenyra. And on his deathbed, now these words were misinterpreted, but on his deathbed he said, "The Song of Ice and Fire, I believe that's you, Rhaenyra. You somehow are connected to the Song of Ice and Fire. You need to sit the Iron Throne." Like, and what's crazy too is Rhaenyra, she had to go to court too in basically the final episode for Patty, for King Viserys. She had to go to court to try and get her name, for Driftmark. She basically tried to get her name reinstated as a rightful name. As Rhaenyra Targaryen still has her inheritance, she still has her power politically, right? She basically tried to keep her political power, and it wasn't. I'm not sure how it was gonna go. But she asked her father, who was basically half dead at this point, like he was disease ridden, he was half dead, to defend her honor, and she didn't think he would be able to. As he's half dead, he's damn near crawling to the Iron Throne, and people are like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Do you want to just go back and rest?" And he says, "No, I'll do this." And he sits on the Iron Throne, and he sits there and says, "Listen, Rhaenyra Targaryen, her children, she's my daughter. I'm defending her. She is still the heir. She is Rhaenyra Targaryen." Like, this man, the heart that he showed for his daughter, it's just incredible. Truly, truly, he's a girl dad. So, and he, honestly, his performance was it was Oscar worthy. And so we have Sir Criston Cole, who I also thought did a brilliant performance. Problem with Sir Criston Cole is that he's an enemy and people don't like him. He was an ally too, which is weird. He had like a heel turn mid-show, but basically he was the original knight sworn to protect Rhaenyra Targaryen. Rhaenyra Targaryen had this love interest with her uncle. She basically, what happened was, it's not like she always loved her uncle. She didn't. She just thought of her uncle as her uncle. But at one point, Prince Daemon takes her through the common area, where the common folk reside, and basically took her to a strip club, and said, "Listen, I know you're upset that your father is telling Rhaenyra, like Viserys is telling Rhaenyra, you have to have kids, you have to marry, but Daemon was saying, listen, you could do that stuff, but that stuff's just for show. We can sleep with whoever we want to. We can be interested in whoever we want to because we're Targaryens. It doesn't matter what people think." And then he starts to tease himself as an option for Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra just falls in love with him right there. That was the moment where she fell in love with her uncle. Her uncle kisses her, right? Like they kiss a little bit, and then he leaves her in the strip club by herself. She's kind of a little embarrassed, but she's not too upset. She ends up making her way back to her tower, and Sir Criston Cole is still there on standby. He sees that she snuck out, and he's about to alert people that, tell the king, hey, your daughter snuck out. She pulls him aside, grabs his sword. He asks for it back, and then you guys know where this is going, right? Like she seduces Sir Criston Cole, because she just was in the mood, you know what I'm saying, after what happened with Prince Daemon. And so Sir Criston Cole obliges, and they have their night of love, and Sir Criston Cole falls in love with Rhaenyra Targaryen at this point. It kind of felt like he always loved her a little bit. After defending her, they became pretty close, but yeah, he falls in love with her. And then what happens is young Alicent Hightower, she finds out about this, and she chooses not to believe it. She chooses to believe Rhaenyra didn't do this. And so, which speaks to their friendship. And so, basically, to make a long story short, because it does go on for a while, Rhaenyra Targaryen ends up marrying somebody else. She offers for Sir Criston Cole to always be the person that she sleeps with, even though she can never marry him. And Sir Criston Cole's like, I don't want to be your personal whore. And so, yeah, their relationship crumbles. And now Sir Criston Cole is sworn to Alicent Hightower. And he's pretty cringy, too, because he, hates Rhaenyra. He hates Rhaenyra's kids. He hates Rhaenyra's name. He hates Rhaenyra. Treats her kids like, crap. Treats her horribly. And so, yeah. It's pretty weird and he still loves her. That's the truth. He still loves Rhaenyra Targaryen basically off of that one night, but he knows that she's lived her life now, and now he's bitter that because he feels like it should have been him and Rhaenyra together. And so to me, those are the superstar performances that you get from this show. All of those actors did a brilliant job. And this show is true. And now they're saying it's going to be 4 seasons. I have no idea when the second season is going to come out. They're saying 2 years. I hope that's not the case. Let's see. They're saying 2 years. I have no idea when the case is. This is a prediction, apparently. It's millions of people have been watching. It's, based off the Book of Fire and Blood. So it took 3 years. There was delays and stuff with the lockdown. Man, it might be 2 years. I don't know. It might be 2 years. I would say if I had to predict for season 2, it's 2022 and it's basically about to be 2023. I would say we'll get season 2 in 2024. Maybe if they rush it, which I kind of hope they don't do, because just go for the quality. But if they're fast about it, if they're quickly about it, maybe December 2023. But I think they're just gonna have us wait until 2024, and so that's what my prediction is for season 2. But overall, that's my season 1 review. I basically just wanted to talk about the superstar performances from the actors, break down how the episodes work, and just overall, the show is amazing. You should totally watch it. Watch Game of Thrones, watch this show. They're both 10 out of 10. This though might be the greatest show of all time. And that is my official season 1 review for House of the Dragon. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I will be back with some more content Probably going to be maybe covering the Henry Cavill story in Superman. But there is also some more Sonic gameplay that's leaked. So I might make another Sonic video because, like I said, I am hyped for Frontiers. But we will see what happens. Thank you for checking out this video, and I will see you in the next one.